Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 471. I am your host, Lauren Gray. Thank you so much for joining us today. For all of you that are watching us on simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Nope, not Twitter anymore. Excuse me. We got off X. Just not a platform worth consideration anymore. But that being said, we're also still on all the other ones. What did I mention? YouTube, lots of our association friends and a lot of our corporate friends and so forth allow us to do the privilege of doing a live broadcast on their social platforms. So look for Facebook pages or you'll see us. You can always look up Hospitality Digital Marketing, see us there, Hospitality Channel, see us there. And if you're watching us on your TV, because of our TV channel, the Hospitality Channel, then you get to see us, me, in a really big screen. Maybe that's not a good thing. But the idea of being able to sit back and kind of go through the topics with us is always a good one. Thank you, everyone, for watching us globally. As we simulcast, I see people that join us on different platforms, and I am always in awe that people at the most strangest of times will watch us. But we do simulcast this show, which is a repeat of it, 11:30 a.m. Sydney, Australian time for our APAC friends, 11:30 a.m. London, England time for our EU and Mid-East friends to have a little bit more time-sensitive time to play the show. So for all of those that watch us now live and in repeat sessions, thank you so much. And if you ever want to go back to our old shows, like I Love Lucy reruns, you can look them up by date of broadcast, co-host list, or topic, and that is at hospitalitychannel.tv. So today, it's rare that I get to put things in sync the way I get to today. I have the privilege of speaking at a conference next week of one of my clients. And through all of this process, not just with them by any stretch, but through lots of clients, there's gaps that happen with things. So let me first explain what the topic is today. The topic is all in the family, F&B and hotels, how to mutually market. Now, the reason why I brought this topic up, one is that it is very asimilar to topics I'll be having in discussions for presentations and so forth. But I pride myself in the history that I have grown up in the hospitality industry of having the best of both worlds. I came up through food and beverage, used to be working in restaurants many, many years, ended up owning restaurants, got into hotels because of restaurants, started running food and beverage operations in hotels. From there, moved over to operations, went through operations, so forth. I'm not here to bore you with my bio, but I have had the benefit of being on both sides, operating and running both of the equations that we're speaking about. And in those days, I always thought it was a natural progression of how those two entities worked together. Unfortunately, as time has gone on, more of a division has been created in how food and beverage operations exist in the hospitality hotel environment. I can tell you that as I've gone through the responsibility of time in the way the internet has been used these past 20 plus years, that we have learned many lessons about what to do and what not to do. But unfortunately, those lessons get lost as time goes on and we sense to repeat them. What I say by that is when we first started allowing hotels or having hotels allow the ability to market themselves beyond just the traditional magazine publications and so forth, there was this belief that if we just talked about what we offered, our restaurants, our amenities, our features, in our marketing, then that would be beneficial to our guests and improve our revenue value of those outlets. Only to realize that would irritate a lot of our guests for having realized that they missed the biggest ball of twine or the neat grouper sandwich right around the corner, because we'd failed to share that knowledge with them. And it was a resentment to that. That's one learning experience that unfortunately has seemed to be lost in time. Another is that restaurants in hotels fight two battles every day. The battle of capture percentages and the battle of local market. And they tend to lose the latter one a lot harder than they lose the first one. I'd like to go back a little bit in the history of what I have come through to give you the perspective of why I want to talk about how food and beverage in hotels should operate more cohesively. When I was first moving to Houston, and I was out looking for a job, I was a chef, and I was looking to go over and get into a chef job. I just finished selling my portion to a restaurant that was in Florida, and I was out in Houston. And I was looking for a job, and I was applying to all these food and beverage places, restaurants, and everything else like that. And I got a call back from a hotel, and they said that they had a restaurant that was attached to the hotel, and they're looking for someone to run it. I said, well, I'm the general manager and so forth, so that works out fine. So he says, well, we don't call him the restaurant general manager. We call him the food and beverage director. It's okay. But I had no sense, never had worked in hotels before. Now, my love of restaurants, having grown up in restaurants, was the joy that you get when you've made a great meal. The experience that you've given them when they came into your restaurant and they just had a wonderful experience with you for food and beverage. And as I come to grow and learn, I expanded that love of providing a good meal into the world of providing a good night's stay. That, wow, not only do we give them great meals, both morning, noon, and night, but we also get to go over and give them a great stay experience. They get to enjoy being here with us. We give them a great room, a great stay, we give great service. And it just grew from that core of food and beverage satisfaction of service to hotel satisfaction of service. And I appreciated that. Now, some of the things that I did that at the time were I bumped heads with people above me was I pushed food and beverage to do more for themselves than what they were doing when I assumed the role. For instance, when I took over this restaurant that I just first mentioned as my first gig into hotels, I thought food and beverage people in hotels were spoiled brats. Having run independent restaurants where every day you could be incredibly busy or incredibly not busy, and you had to plan for both, not only in how you purchase, but how you staff. We used to call it schedules with ODLs, option to leave early, where we could bring them in, and if we didn't have enough business, then they got popped off. Anyways, that volatility meant that you were very aggressive about how you got business in your door. You were very much about making sure that you were product aware in your market. You made very sure that you were covering all of your costs efficiently so as to not waste money when there's no money to be made when you have lean times. And I noticed in hotel restaurant operations that both of those things didn't really exist. I would hear from those that had been working there for a while, we didn't get many people from upstairs. That conference was a bust. We didn't get hardly anybody down here for breakfast, and none of them really showed up. They just left after they were off to their morning session or whatever. I'm sitting there going, okay, you do know that we're surrounded with a whole world of people outside these walls. And that's where the challenge started first coming in. First pushback that was standard rhetoric was, we're a hotel restaurant. People don't think of us as a local place to go. We're going to change that. 2, we only handle what's inside these 4 walls. Going to change that. We have to operate under the guidelines of what the hotel is telling us we're capable of, since basically, and this is the part that I said they were spoiled at. I was used to running restaurants, standalone restaurants, that the plumbing broke or the toilet clogged. I'm in there with a plunger. If the dishwasher, the district guy didn't show up, I'm washing dishes. If the cook didn't show up, I'm cooking food. If the host didn't show up, I'm hosting. If the server didn't go, I'm bartending. You get the story. So for them, it was a matter of the hotel handled the maintenance. If something broke, maintenance came down and fixed it. If there was something to be cleaned outside of the general operations of the restaurant, housekeeping cleaned things. Linens got taken care of, laundry and so forth and so on. I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. Well, with that came the belief that the hotel guided the limitation capabilities of the restaurant. And I couldn't fight it from a dollars and cents point of view initially, where I looked at it and it's like, well, they do pay the electric, they do pay the labor, they do pay the maintenance and everything else like this. And if they're telling me that because of our occupancy at the hotel, we can't put too many people on the floor because we won't need them. And I'm arguing, yeah, but I want a lot of people from outside to come in, and I need the people to be able to handle it. Should they do that? I had to change the should to they did. I had to make sure that the restaurant had a viable local presence, that we were a good choice for people in our immediate market to come in. Well, no marketing budget. The restaurant for the hotel was not designed to run as a restaurant. It was built as an amenity to the hotel guests. And that stigma limits the success of the restaurant in at least 2 ways I'll mention right now. 1, you never get a truly authentic quality experience from a guest perspective of the hotel coming to the hotel restaurant, which is usually a paradox of people laughing about the fact of, yes, I went downstairs to the bar. Yeah, it had a bar and there was liquor, but there ain't nobody else there but you and maybe a couple other people hanging out from the hotel. That goes to the second problem with the restaurants. Most hotel guests don't want to go to the hotel restaurant most of the time. because they know it's just hotel restaurant food. That is a thought process. It's like it's not really up to the local standard, or they're not in competition locally, so they don't have to impress anybody. They figure they have you because you came out of the elevator door and you're lazy and you don't want to walk out the front door. Now, some of that in time has changed with the ability to get easier taxi rides or Uber services, or where hotels' footprint goes, there's more things around them that you can get to easier. Okay. And that's where the real need of this conversation is coming into, is how to make your restaurants fightable, local presence, capabilities, where people come to your hotel to go to your restaurant and not necessarily go up the elevator. To do that, you have to have competitive quality service and presence. You have to be able to not tell people that walk up going, "Hi, I like a table." "Oh, it's a half hour wait." "Yeah, but half your restaurant's empty." "Yeah, but we only have two people on the floor." Why? Because the hotel figured we had only 50% occupancy or whatever percentage occupancy they calculated, and they didn't want to overstaff. Hmm. In a strange way, I have to tell you, you have to create that problem. You have to give an amazing solution to the people that you're irritating by doing that. Buy one, get ones, cut your check in half, come back, please, and I'll give you this, whatever. To build up that following, you have to create the value of what you're doing. Now, that can come in several ways. Before I say the several ways, let me bring out the fact that if you're in a destination based resort and there is nothing to go to, most of this conversation is relatively mute, except for the competitiveness between the outlets that you have in your own resort as to whom does what for where and to what tier they operate, and they value each other. I would still recommend that what I'm about to say gets applied to them, because that value of experience should be an add-on to their value of experience at the hotel and resort, not the hotel was great food. The server took his time, or the food was just bar food, or mediocre, or overpriced for what we got. There was no value of experience to it. Remember my whole thing, how I grew up through food and beverage into hotels, that the joy of giving that great dining experience and then being able to do that for a hotel experience, that needs to be put into both of those equations. So the advice now is for everybody, including these destination resorts, you need to create the identity of your restaurant if you have it. If it's just name it whatever you want, making it sound pseudo local, you're not fooling anybody. Calling it something and calling it the authentic or local blah blah or whatever is not the same of people knowing that. Now, in the real world of hotels and hotel restaurants, you have, of course, who is the most immediate competitor that's going to draw people out. In hotels, and I know I'm speaking to the choir when I say this, you have what's called capture percentages. How many people in the hotel had a meal period with us? Breakfast capture, lunch capture, happy hour capture, dinner capture, whatever. Those numbers oftentimes get used by the hotel or the resort to calculate, based on the revenue of what that's producing, the cost that it's inflicting on them, which means that they mitigate your ability to diversify the menu by ordering products that aren't as full circle usage. The number of staff members that you have, line people that you have, hours of operations that you have, the ability for brand awareness that you have. These are all limitations that the hotel operations inflict upon your food and beverage outlet as a means of minimizing the expense of that asset as an amenity to their guest experience. The restaurant has to go in the opposite direction. They have to validate why it's important that the restaurant have its own identity. Validate why it's important that we have a unique local following of people that are willing and wanting to connect to the hotel, that is a cool place. Because one of the two reasons I mentioned as to the bane of hotel restaurants is hotel guests seeing and thinking that they're going to go to a good restaurant in the hotel, come down, and it's a ghost town. Looks beautiful. I mean, the decor and everything else matches the hotel. It's everything with that they, but it's dead empty. The bartender's on his phone. The server's off by the station talking to a cook that stepped out front. Nobody's doing nothing. How good of a place do you think that is if it's that empty? I mean, that's common sense. It's not that the food is bad. It's not that the service is bad. Maybe even the prices aren't bad. Maybe nothing about it is bad. But the perception is it's not popular. And that popularity is bred by whether or not just the people you may see in that restaurant are not just hotel people you saw going up and down in the elevator. That value of, wow, the locals are here, or there's non-hotel guests that are here. That must be something. That validates more than you know why you get more people in each of your meal periods. Now, standard process with restaurant, food and beverage operations and hotels is there is a diminished percentage of capture as the duration of stay goes on, and then it goes back up on the longer stays towards the end. What I mean by this, when you arrive at a hotel and say you're in a weekend stay or 2 to 3 night stay, first morning breakfast, good capture. 70-80% of everybody upstairs comes down for breakfast, especially if you have a value add to it or a buffet or whatever way you want to do it to handle the masses, because they descend usually in the last hour just before breakfast is closing. Now, there's not a whole unless it's a corporate hotel which has very early risers. Most of them, especially with families, come down about the last hour and they just deluge. Okay, that's usually where you have most of your service issue problems if it's a plated service. Anyways, lunchtime, first lunch, usually around 40, maybe 50%. First evening dinner, depending upon the type of business, corporate business and or family or transient business or whatever, you're probably looking at about a 25, 30% capture. Next day, breakfast goes down, say 10, 15% in capture. Lunch goes down, say about the same. Dinner almost falls off the table. Reason being is the second evening dinner is usually the time, especially on a 2 to 3 day stay, that people are going to see what else they can find. They came to your restaurant. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was bad, whatever. But they want to make sure they don't miss anything in your market, especially if they've done their education in their discovery of you and realize there's things that they were enticed about going to do outside of your restaurant and not of your hotel. That should be helpful, but there's ways to combat that in capture and convenience. Again, going back to the type of people that are staying with you, if it's transient only, you really can't stop them, okay? And nor should you want to going to a restaurant that is around the area. But the experience that they first would have, and hopefully they've had at least one with you in the restaurant, was so good that it's a kind of a coin flip. So you could flip that coin on your side, skew the data or skew the success of it being where they choose you instead of going out, because of your willingness to offer them something. This is where you create the push incentives to them, like, hey, I'll bring you a receipt from the time you were with us before, and we'll give you the second meal for free, the appetizer for free, dessert for free, first drink for free, whatever. Get them back in. Do something like that. The other is, when it comes to lunch the next day and so forth, especially if you're in any sort of destination thing, is when you know that they're likely to now think about what they're going to do for lunch and they begin to think about what it is that you're going to go to do it with, that's when you ping them with these kind of same incentive values. Like, hey, why get dressed and go and take a shower and everything, and you have to leave the hotel to go someplace else when you can just wander right up to the bar and so forth and so on. The other is, and this goes to the quality of what you have, is even if they still are going to want to go out, and they will, you have the remedial value of getting them back in for their nightcap or the end of the night. Or, you know what, if you're going out, we highly recommend, this is a great restaurant, really easy to get to. It's a local favorite. We have a deal with them, which you should have deals with all of your local restaurants to show collaboration of being part of the community. Once you're done, come back. Desserts for us. Come on back and have some dessert with us. We'll be able to. We have this, and this. So that, or coffee, or a nightcap, or whatever. So if you can't get all of it, get some of it. That ability to be fluent in what you're talking to through the arc of the stay of the guests, one is showing that personalization relationship of trying to create the best experience for your guests as possible. And then also, it's a means to improve the value of the food and beverage operations for the people staying at your hotel. Now, that's helping you drive your internal audiences. There's more to do, but that's fast and easy ones. The other is how to build your local business. A lot of it comes with little pieces. All great things have small beginnings. You're chipping away at things. And that is, invite local groups. They don't have to buy space. They don't have to rent a common space or something like this. Just say, hey, office XYZ over across the street from us and so forth. We want to host a happy hour for you and your team. First round of wells and beers and drafts and wines on us. And it's whatever, BOGO, whatever, for going after that. And if you bring in X number of people, we give you a snack tray. that you guys can have. If you bring in more people, we bring in more food, whatever it is, get them familiar with your operations. Offer them lunches. Come on over for lunch. We'll give you this value proposition. Get them to where they are familiar with your product and remove the stigma that you're just the restaurant at the hotel across the street. They don't go to it because there's the bar there, the restaurant over there. They don't think of you in the context of an option. It also gives them, and this is the business twist to this, a comfort with your hotel that not every office is equipped to host clients. It also opens up communications with your sales team to develop L&R rates and so forth. But everything's tied. So we're not going to get off on that tangent. But it also gives them familiarity with the quality of your lobby and where to sit to have a quiet conversation. Or they feel comfortable enough by coming in and say, hey, look, I got a couple of clients. I want to meet with them. I know your bar's closed. Can I just, sit at one of the tables? Not a problem. As a matter of fact, don't consider the bar closed. Tell me what it is that you need. And you might be thinking, it's like, well, that costs money with labor. That costs money with, now I got to bring in a bartender. Yeah, no, it depends on your scale of business. But in all honesty, you're developing community identity. You're being recognized as a community member that's there to work with your local businesses. Sometimes companies who don't have meeting rooms that can handle their entire staff need a place to go to. The first stage is get them to the bar or to your restaurant or to an area of your lobby that you feel you can coordinate a common area. And we have a lot of new layouts and so forth that have a lot of engagement places, big long tables and so forth. And however yours is configured is how it's configured. Get them in. Get them where they feel comfortable that you're an extension of what they do. That also means, again, going back to the L&R rates, if they have enough business to negotiate one, but you can offer just a discount saying, hey, look, guys, you're right across the street. Let us know when you need a hotel room. We'll give you 10% off whatever our best available is. If we're, and especially you can be as generous as you want, but I usually tell them is like, if we're above 80% occupancy, I really can't give you the discount, but I can get you a room. You always have a place to stay unless I'm sold out. That last room availability thing is kind of nice. The idea that you're developing these relationships means that you can expand what it is that you do. Going back to old school things. So I had a hotel on the east coast of Florida, Hilton actually, and we used to do lots of crazy fun stuff, but I had a restaurant and it was a nice restaurant. And we got to where we were being very well known as a great local restaurant. The decor was beautiful. The service was exceptional. The food quality was excellent. It was a great place to bring mom, okay, to have a nice dinner or to go on a date or to have a celebration of some sort. It was nice. It was very nice. We really worked hard to make sure that happened. Then we started doing things, and this will show my age a little bit in the history of my work experience. We started doing things where we were just known for them. Friday night seafood buffet. We went all out. We did great seafood buffet. Best in the area. Other places were saying, Friday night, you got to go to the Hilton. They have an amazing seafood buffet. And we did. We didn't do the jello and mashed potatoes, scalloped potatoes, and red potatoes, and we had the lobsters, we had the snow crabs, we had fish of different types, we had shrimp, we had scallops, we were good. It worked out really well. We had lines out the door. Seriously, not exaggerating. We had lines out the door. We were the place to be on Friday night. And because of that, we got a lot of local businesses like, oh, wow, well, let's put them up over at the Hilton because, they're going to be there Friday night. They can hit the buffet. We'll join them. All right. Anyways, the next thing we did was Sunday brunch. And we did it at the same fervor that we did our Friday night seafood buffet. And we did it full, eggs, Benny, omelets to order, just stuff. Okay. And again, same mentality. Line out the door, reservations constantly. We got to the point where we were booked weeks ahead. And then we went into the world of events, holiday events, Easter, Mother's Day, Christmas. And the ballrooms and all of our meeting rooms were all transitioned over to banquet. And we used the restaurant outlet for more intimate reservations, 2s, 4s, 6s, biggest was 8 tops in the restaurants for Easter or Mother's Day or Christmas buffet and New Year's. And it was ragingly successful. I say that with a smile because the first time I did it, I tried to do a different way of seating and it messed things up. But that's just an old story over a beer sometime. Anyways, we got well known for it. And so what happened was our restaurant turned into a marquee restaurant in that market. If you wanted to go to a place that was going to be beautiful, well serviced, excellent food, decent prices, and plus had the exceptional Friday nights and Sunday brunches and holiday events and so forth, what have you, that's where everybody went. We beat anybody. And then when people tried to copy us, they couldn't do it as well as us. Even if they tried to do exactly like us, we had the momentum to be that place that we were always compared. They were always compared to us. And I say that boastfully, bragfully for having done that. And then we started doing catering, offsite catering, which the hotel wasn't built for. We used internal equipment to go offsite catering. So we blew that whole business up, where we brought what we did to other places so we could handle more. We ended up doing a group of 7,000 people at a closed mall nearby that we went and took the space for, and literally shoveled stuff on U-Haul trucks over to do this and put out our bars and everything else and handle that many people, because obviously our hotel can't handle that many people. It can only handle a seventh of it. We did those kind of things. We did banquets on the beach and crazy stuff. And we got known for being that place. That place, we hosted chef events where we had guest chefs come in. We got into that, and it all came from the idea that the restaurant should be its own value. It should have a presence in market that defines it outside of what the hotel is. Now, make no mistake, we catered to the hotel guests. We made sure that the hotel guests were always treated with the priority that they deserved for being at the hotel. When it came to reservations, we always gave ourselves buffers so that we had some tolerance to be able, and restaurants know how to do this. Everybody that's in food and beverage knows how to do this, of how to margin yourself. It's like front desk, how to oversell yourself, knowing there's going to be a breakage or percentage loss of people that have to cancel and so forth and so on, and holding some in sway. So if somebody walks in and goes, "This is Mr. Smith. He's with us for a couple of nights. I've been bragging about the seafood buffet, and I know we're sold out on reservations and so forth, but is there any way that we can get Mr. Smith in? Mr. Smith, I tell you what, just so happens I walk you right in right now and sit you down, please." That service level of value, priceless. That's the magic between food and beverage and hotels. Hotels and food and beverage don't seem to relate to each other as much anymore. Food and beverage is basically at the whim of control of the hotel, who says, "I put the roof over." It's like a parent and a child. You're under my roof. You play by my rules. Literally is what I see on and on persistently. Food and beverage needs to define itself both locally and within the hotel itself. There are times, in my example of what we used to do, where we didn't advertise the hotel. We advertised our food and beverage. The hotel came along for the ride. This is in addition to the fact that the other end of the hotel, I had a sports bar. Actually, at the time, it was a space that we didn't know what to do with it. It had been another thing, and it was under our roof. And so we took it over and we opened up a bar. And this goes back a ways. And we realized that there wasn't really a good sports bar in our market, not one that could handle 500 people, because it was a big place. And so we went through, and my ownership was crazy at the time. They were like, "You want to spend how much on DirecTV?" "Yes, we need the games up, and all this stuff." Back when, satellite. Anyways, I have awards on my wall for many, many years of being the best sports bar in that market, voted by people. And I'm proud of that, because the people made it. It wasn't me making it. It was the people that made it. The value of what we provided, the size, the spectrum. We had teams in. We had softball teams come in. We have groups come in. They would play their game footage on our TVs, but they could all sit around and watch it. The coaches would have their meetings. We became that place that we would talk with anybody in a way of supporting our community. What we see now with hotels a lot of times is they try to shutter their food and beverage from the local community. Like, this is our restaurant for our hotel guests. And they do it with things like stupid fees of valet parking and so forth. This monetization is driving me nuts. I was always against resort fees to begin with because that was just gratis cash. And the excuses that came for, oh, we have to pay for fuel surcharges and whatever help. It's the same reason when now with tips, people being added tips. So that pays for our staff, such and such. Raise the price on the thing. And we see legislation now. California started, and other states have adopted, more states are in the row with it. These junk fees, they have to be explained and itemized in the rate showing what it is that you're paying for before you click it and find out that you had all this stuff added to it. I'm happy for that. I hope it goes the way of the tips things as well. Like, okay, here's the price. I have the privilege of traveling a lot, and as you know from doing the show live that I'm doing over in Europe and so forth, over there tipping isn't being done because they're paid fair wage, and because of that, the service is outstanding. I feel because the tips here don't go to the servers; they go to the house, and the house designates what it is that they pay up to go over and have the person have a good hourly. So there's no effort tips, for improved service. That doesn't happen. So the server doesn't really care because if they give bad service, the house is still going to level up their payments based on whatever the money comes in the door. Anyways, political tangent, axe to grind. The reality of it is that food and beverage has to be given the opportunity to exist better. And that means that if somebody's going to come to your hotel and the only parking you have is $20 valet, that means my first drink is whatever price you're charging plus 20. Even if I just have one drink, I'm stuck with the $20 bill. And nowadays with the way prices are going, you add that up and then you add the, tip that is being pushed on you and so forth and so on. It turns into a very expensive drink, let alone if you're having a burger or lunch or dinner or something like this, you have to add $20 onto it. And hotels, I asked one of my clients, so if somebody's going to come up to your bar, you want people to come to your bar. You say, hey, we're a local bar, we're a local restaurant, come on in. But nobody lives immediately around you. So everybody's got to drive to you. And the only option they have is to park with you. There are some other parking spaces that are, private ones, but you still have to pay to be there. And that's fine. I mean, parking costs in downtown towns and so forth is a thing. We have it faced down here. Fort Myers is struggling with the fact that they're now charging for parking. And it raises up issues with local businesses that now these people are coming in knowing they already paid for parking. That adds to their cost of the evening, which they take out on the restaurants. Any which way, if you do that with the hotels and resorts, that you're not offering some value propositions like, hey, dine with us and we'll voucher you, or we'll spend more than X dollars and your valet's free. Something that gives an incentive to say, please come with our bars and so forth. Come in, enjoy what we have to offer. If you live here locally, we want to be part of the community. The things I was telling you about that we did with businesses and having them come over and use our spaces in the restaurants to have meetings because it's just such a beautiful spot to go and sit and talk and have a cup of coffee. I know you're not buying a lot with me, but I do value the fact that you're a business that's in my market and that we are in the same place of trying to make sure that we as a community do well. That value relationship goes beyond just profit margins and ROIs. It goes into the value of guest service. Guest service is shared, and something that I think is very hard for people to understand. The same people that complain at your front desk at the hotel or laud you at your front desk at the hotel are the same people that complain or laud the people at the restaurant at the host station or the manager coming by the table. They're the same person. They're in the hotel and they're in your restaurant. Treating them as two different entities, well, you have to talk to the restaurant manager about that, or that's the hotel, that's not us, is not good. I would say bad words about that, but it's not good. It needs to be one shared dream, one team, that kind of thing. And it needs to be understood that collaboratively you create the success. Just like I said in my time, that when I used to own restaurants and cook and so forth, it was the joy of giving a great dinner or a great meal. And then it grew into being able to give a great experience for them to stay with us. And then being able to combine all that together where they get to enjoy the spa or the golfing or the beach or whatever it is that I offered from the different places I had the pleasure of working with. That same premise of all in the family, that F&B and hotels collaboratively work together so that not just the logistics I'm talking about, but in marketing, feature food and beverage without having to drag the hotel into the conversation. Feature what you do in food and beverage. And the only outlet that food and beverage seems to try to work towards, and they do it mediocrely, some do it well, but very few, is social media. And I see it so often. Frosty cold drink in front of the pool. Come join us. It's sunny and 72. It's generic. What is going to make me want to do that? Especially since it's indiscerning that it pops up in my social media feed. I might not even be in your market, but it's being popped up because I did follow you because I liked your product or had stayed at your resort. And now I'm being fed this. I'm less likely to engage with it. So what do you see? You see bad engagement. I didn't even like it. After a while, I just didn't bother with it. Scroll past it. And then you get penalized in social media platforms that lack of engagement means that you get lack of exposure. That's how that works. And if you paid for it to be exposed and you don't get the click-through rates because it's not doing anything, it's not wondering, that sounds really good. I should do that. I've watched highly engaged social media get burned by repetitive, oversaturation, high frequency, mundane content to the point where even the people that love them and really want them to be successful don't respond because it's just like, really? I've already liked your last 100 posts about how neat the drink is and how great it was to be there. And yeah, that's super good for you. Congratulate, whatever. To the point of, I'm not going to do it anymore. And yet they keep on doing it. You have to understand that marketing for food and beverage falls under the same methodologies as hotels and resorts, that they need to be collaborative. There are times that you speak of different topics. There's different storylines that you contribute to. There's different things that you use in your dialogue, both in organic content and your website and on your social media, as also your paid social media and your paid content. Those things are critical to be timed well and topically relevant and not tone deaf. I think I've hit everything I wanted to about this. I think there's a strong need to really take a hard look at how you are handling your food and beverage outlet operations. And it's worthy of consideration for full service properties, especially, to put into context what it is that they're selling. They've labeled their restaurant whatever they've labeled it. Maybe they have a franchise operation sitting on in their lobby. Maybe they have their own brand name on it. Maybe they have a made-up name on it. Everyone has a different way of approaching it. You can take whatever it is and know that the one thing that you have compared to any other restaurant that's named just like it in the branding that you have is that's in your market, not that market. It's in your market. You can make of it what you want. You can get your businesses in to have a coffee. You can get your businesses in to have a happy hour. You can get your local residents in because you're offering them value incentives. And not by banging them on valet fees, not by banging them on high inflated prices, but giving them quality product, quality service, and a quality environment. It's old school. It's how it's always been done, or at least used to be done. And it's a value asset that is very underutilized in hotels and resorts these days. So with that, thank you for watching me on your TV channel today. We're on Google TV, Apple TV, Amazon TV, Roku, LG, Samsung, any smart TVs. You can look up Hospitality Channel. We are always on the free side of the pay gateway on our live show. Also on our simulcast, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, even Twitch on gaming consoles if you're inclined to watch content that way. Thank you, everybody that's watching me live in a variety of time zones. Again, as I mentioned, we'll simulcast this at more relevant time zone times for APAC and EU, as always, on Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. for the time zones in correlation. I'll let you know how my conversations go about this. And if there's any follow-up, please, by all means, get back with me if you have any insights, any comments about this, good, bad, anything. You can reach me two ways. You can send me an email, lauren@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com, or you can do an audio engagement with me at hdm.news/talkback. And that I usually pose a question. This week was about food and beverage. You can answer it or basically speak your mind and tell me at what permissions level I can use your context of conversation. So you can do it either of those two ways. So until next week for show number 472, my name is Lauren Gray again, and I thank you for the privilege of your time. Have a great day.